this evening. Michael, to kick things off, first I'd like to get your reactions to the president's direct address to the American people last night.
It was a fantastic presentation that he made, and the fact that it exposed not just what the Chinese communists are doing to subvert us, we should expect that. What it exposed was we have people in this country who are covering up for communist China, and we've allowed our election systems to get in such a way that the communists can just manipulate us at will, and our deep state system covers it up.
Yeah, shocking as you put it that way. Rick, I'd like to get your thoughts on the declassified documents.
Well, it's interesting how much of the mainstream media reporting today has been to downplay the president's release of these documents and to say that there's nothing here. We've already debunked this in 2020. Why review this? I would urge Americans to go to the White House website and read as many of these declassified documents as you can, because they do paint a very disturbing picture of China operating in an ecosystem in the United States of lots of both legal and questionable activities that 6 years ago prompted a justified level of concern. But 6 years later, when China is more powerful and throwing its weight all around the world, the future of our elections should be of a concern to all Americans.
Yeah, you used a very interesting word there, ecosystem, and I think that's a theme that we'll probably hit on as we continue. Michael, as a former CIA operative, can you shed some light on how this counterintelligence on China meddling is gathered, and then the effort to bury it, as the president has described, and as Rick used the word ecosystem? How does that all kind of coalesce together?
Well, any collection, so counterintelligence is to counter the hostile intelligence activities of foreign powers. So we're trying to counter this. So our counterintelligence people pick this up, but really we don't have a way of handling this. We don't have a real system to deal with the intelligence threats that countries like China present to us across society. If our enemies are able to get voter registration lists from practically every city and town in America, all the personal registration data of almost every voting citizen in the country, then that's a really serious breach where we haven't taken the preservation of our own system seriously. This is not something that you can fix with the FBI going around arresting people, although that's important. This has to be handled from the top with something like the SAVE Act, for crying out loud, which is to make sure that real people who are really eligible to vote are the ones who do cast the votes for our leaders. Otherwise, we're not protecting our constitutional system at all.
Yeah. And Rick, it's been a few years since that 2020 election. Has China been developing its means of election meddling since then? You've alluded to it. Do you have any, as you read the tea leaves, are you understanding a bit more about what their capabilities could be at this point?
Well, I would strongly urge Americans to pay attention to what has been happening in Taiwan. In Taiwan, the opposition, liberal, if you could call it that, is more or less controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. They follow orders. They will conform to China's wishes if they ever are elected. And the Chinese are actively trying to support them, make them stronger, fight battles for them, undermine the elected Democratic Progressive Party that the Chinese Communist Party actually wants to make illegal. So by taking this example and looking at the United States, you could basically estimate that the Chinese Communist Party has a similar goal. It wants to empower a left party in the United States and eventually make illegal the conservative pro-freedom party.
Wow. And Michael, we understand that China has gathered all of this data. What could they do with that data?
Well, they could manipulate it in a number of ways. They could simply hire American companies to send out campaign material for and against certain candidates or for and against certain issues. They could perhaps hack into our electoral systems with voting machines that we know are flawed. Some of them, we have reports, were designed to have had invisible backdoors built into them for the for the specific purpose of altering votes during tabulation. So if China has the voting rolls, they can do this, and they can hack into our own electoral systems and determine who gets elected and who doesn't.
Yeah, the documents do describe something of that nature happening in Venezuela with voting machines. Rick, what would you say to those who downplay China's influence in U.S. elections, as you described the media response saying that this has all kind of been hashed, there's nothing new here? What would you say to that type of rhetoric?
Well, we're in a long-term contest with the Chinese Communist Party. They want to dominate the United States, and they want our defense of freedom go away everywhere, including in our own country. So when the president accuses China of trying to manipulate, subvert, interfere in an American election, I suggest that Americans take this very seriously. Go to the White House web.
To fuel its push for global dominance. Molinar, who's the chairman of the House Select Committee on the CCP, says that the documents released by the White House support what the committee has been saying for years, and that's that China is waging economic and political warfare against the United States. Along the same lines, the Select Committee held a hearing earlier in the week about how China is exploiting federally funded research here in the U.S.
China's theft and diversion of American technology and research is not theoretical. It is documented through criminal prosecutions, intelligence assessments, congressional investigations, and the Chinese government's own public strategies.
Molinar and other lawmakers are also urging Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to bar American companies from buying Chinese memory chips. They warn that China is seeking to surpass the U.S. in the global AI race and extend its own technological dominance. The lawmakers say preserving America's AI superiority is a matter of national security. Molinar is now calling for bipartisan cooperation as well as for Americans to unite and take advantage of the current administration's transparency to counter the numerous threats posed by the CCP. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Fiona G., NTD News.
And how are everyday Americans reacting to the president's direct address to the people? NTD's Sam Wong was out on the National Mall to hear from people.
How much confidence do you have in the way we conduct our elections nowadays?
I think there's a lot to be desired. I think everybody needs to have voter ID. I come from a part of the state and grew up in politics when everybody had to identify themselves to vote. And I still think that needs to be the case.
I don't really necessarily have a lot of faith in the way that we conduct our elections. The amount of paper ballots that are able to go in, I think allows for a lot of fraud to be able to happen. I think that even the way that we select our presidential nominees need to be fixed with our primary system.
I have confidence, but we can always improve it. You know, the legislations that's pushed forward, the Save America Act, right? I would be somebody that'd be in favor of it so that we would have even greater confidence.
Ballots being collected after the day. I think it's something that we need to try to do the day of. Not having the assurance that everyone that is voting is actually a citizen of the United States creates something that is not just unfair, but it's dangerous.
Are you concerned about foreign actors such as, adversarial regimes such as the Chinese Communist Party interfering with our election?
Yes, obviously technology, and I'm an older guy, but technology is something that is creating new vulnerabilities. It's hard to have trust when you know that there's a track record here of countries that have been trying to target and create as much chaos in our country as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have a free and open system, and so our adversaries are going to try to exploit, they're going to try to meddle. I mean, this is probably nothing new. The more robust that we can create our system to be resilient against attacks, against foreigners that would want to, meddle, the better.
I know up in Michigan where I'm from, we worry about, I think that the governor was trying to make deals with China to be able to buy a lot of farmland up there. It's kind of way that things are done now, gray zone warfare, where they interfere with our elections to try to overtop our republic. So it is something that I'm concerned with, and that's the reason why I think paper ballots are a bad idea. I think getting people to come in person, showing ID, is the best way to be able to combat that.
And coming up in baseball, the Yanks looking to get MVP Aaron